Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be looking at this rather interesting looking puzzle called Monarch by the constructor Grockles. Grockles is one of he's one of your favourite constructors and mine, a real rocket scientist in life itself, but in Sudoku life, Grockles is known for making weird and wonderful constructions, and the testing reports on this that it's a very, very beautiful puzzle indeed, probably slightly above average difficulty as well. And of course, you're probably familiar with this if you're looking at this puzzle thinking, what sort of Sudoku could this be? It is a Japanese sum Sudoku puzzle. So if we can manage to finish the Sudoku part of this correctly, we should get a picture, probably, of a monarch. So this is going to be our objective today. I'll read you the rules of this one in just a moment. First, shout out if you watched the stream last night of Mark and I attempting to get through all of these murders in the Return of the Obra Dinn. Thank you for your company. We did do a little bit better, I think, last night. We at least solved a few murders. And we've probably only got 1 or 2 streams to go on that one, assuming we maintain the same pace. I don't know what we're going to do after that. We might very well return to Bubba Is You. We've had lots of suggestions from the community, and in fact I'm at this minute downloading Diablo 2 as well, which I didn't realise had been released, and I'm quite looking forward to playing that, though I'm pretty sure you don't want to watch me do that in a stream. What else to mention? Anything else? Oh yeah, big news. This morning on the channel, at 10 AM UK time, we released Clover's video, her reaction video to my solve of her puzzle Everest. That is definitely worth watching. If you read the comments, they're so cool. This is one of the great things about this community. If you read the comments on the Clover video, you're all enjoying it so much with good reason. Clover is a brilliant presenter, and she talks through the ideas she had when constructing that puzzle so clearly. So I definitely commend that to you. I will try and remember to put a link to that video on the screen right now. And if you do happen to enjoy this puzzle, of course, you could become a patron of the channel over on Patreon and experience our November monthly reward, which is no less than 45 of these puzzles, these paint by number puzzles where you get a picture, courtesy of Panthera and the Asylum. The feedback we've been getting from those puzzles is terrific as well, and we are closing in on 6,000 patrons, believe it or not. So maybe one of you could be the 6,000th, and that would be magnificent. Now, all that said and done, let me read you the rules and we can see what's going on with Grockles' puzzle. We have got normal Sudoku rules apply. Nearly lost my voice then. Where's my voice gone? Come back. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Shade some cells in the grid such that the clues outside the grid show the sums of consecutive runs of shaded cells in that row or column, each run separated by at least one unshaded cell. Let's pause there before we get to the blue lines, and let's just try and understand what that means. So this column has a 16, an 8 and a 13, and what that means is we've got to shade some cells. Let me just give an example of how this column could look. I might well manage to come up with an impossibility here, but these 2 cells, I've shaded those 2, adding up to 16, so they could be a 7 and a 9. This square then has to separate the 16 from the next number, which is an 8, so we could put 2 and 6 in there. They add up to 8. And now we're left with the task of making 13 at the bottom. Now we could make that with 2 cells, actually. I've just worked out that. That could be a 5-8 pair. And this would be a completely legitimate way of filling this column. So we've got a shaded run adding to 16, separated from a shaded run adding to 8, separated from a shaded run adding up to 13. So that is all good logic, I think. It would be ironic indeed if that turned out to be correct. Someone monitor that. I won't remember. Anyway, now we've got to do the blue lines as well. On each blue line, digits must be consecutive and cannot repeat, but can appear in any order. So these are Renban lines. So what that means is, I don't really know what. Well, there's a sort of funny Renban coming up here. Let's use that one. It's already got a 6 on it. So the other 3 cells on this Renban line must form a consecutive sequence with the 6. So let's go 3, whoops, 3, 4, 5. Obviously Sudoku rules don't apply outside the Sudoku grid, so it's fine for these two to be a 4. Now, this is a sequence, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not in any particular order, it's non-repeating, and then we'd have to use these clues as is a Japanese sums clues in the grid itself. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this one. Let's get rid of that little 3, or that will confuse me. Do have a go. Oh, the way to play is to click the link under the video. My throat is going bananas. Anyway, and now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Oh, actually, Mark told me as well, I should give a shout out to our merch. We have all sorts of merch with things like bobbins written on it, and let's get cracking. And it's coming up for Christmas, so some of you may well enjoy that sort of thing. Now, yeah, I'm interested in this row, because this rule about having to have an unshaded cell between each sequence of shaded cells tells us actually an awful lot about this sequence, because there are 5 clues here. So if I separate 5 clues each time with just 1 cell in between the clues, I'm going to reach a total of 9 cells instantly. So this run the shaded cells in it must be the alternate cells in the row. These 4 cells must be unshaded. We can fill in a digit immediately. This 1 must go into the grid here. And in fact, I'm now going to use the Renban constraint, which I probably should have used instantly, but this 1 is on a Renban line. Now, the moment you get an extreme digit on a Renban line, you can fill in the options for the Renban line. This must be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we can map these ones onto these squares. So that must be a 2, 3, 4, or 5. That must be a 2, 3, 4, or 5. This grid is so massive today that these pencil marks are quite small for me. Hopefully we will still be able to find some logic in the puzzle. Now I'm thinking about this column, which is probably silly, but let's just think about this. Yeah. Okay, is it possible that this 2 clue at the top of this column, that's going to have to be a single 2 on its own? Well, could that be here? No, it couldn't, because there's still 3 more clues to come. So if this was a 2, we'd have to have a gap before the question mark, whatever this is, then a gap, then a 3, then a gap, and now the 6 has dropped off the bottom of the grid. So that's no use. So this 2 clue must correspond with the 2 that's in one of those 2 cells. Now, can we do that anywhere else? The 35 clue. Right. What's the minimum number of cells we need in a Sudoku puzzle to make the digits add up to 35? Well, it's 5, because 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5 are all the maximum digits we could select, and they do add up to 35. So that square must be purple, and we know that because if we're going to select 5 digits in a line in this column, no matter which ones we choose, we're always going to end up picking up the middle cell. So we don't know that this is a 5-cell sequence. It could be, actually. It could, in fact, it probably is, because there's a 5-cell Renban which could contain the consecutive digits 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. But we do know for sure that it's a minimum of 5, and therefore the central cell is forced to be shaded, and therefore the cell above it is now forced to be shaded because this one is shaded. Oh, 27 is quite large. That must be at least 4 cells, because 9, 8, and 7 only add up to 24. So if this is 4 cells, and this is a part of this 27, which it is, that square must be shaded, because even if we start here, we're still always going to get down to this little cell. This is an 11 clue. This is part of an 11 clue. An 11 clue can't be a single digit. You can't write 11 into a Sudoku cell, so that's become purple. Now again, we've got 4 clues in column 8, so the 9 can't start here for the same reason the 2 couldn't start there. Let's just check again. 9 here, blank. 3 here, blank. This one there, blank, and this one would drop off the bottom. So there must be, well, it's either a single 9 or 2 cells adding up to 9 at the top. This is part of the 3, So that square itself must be a 1, 2 or a 3, because it's either a 1, 2 domino adding up to 3 or a 3 on its own. Okay. Now what? I don't know. Oh, 1. Yeah, okay. There's a 1 here. So this 1 is a shaded cell, so it can't be there. If that's shaded, it has to be a 1, and it's going to clash. So that is an unshaded cell as a result of that logic. That could be a 1, could it? If that's a 1, what part, actually, if that's a 1, which clue in the column is it part of? Because it can't be part of the question mark, because there's still 2 clues to come, and they wouldn't fit in the gap. So it's either part of the 3, which it can't be, because if it's part of, if we put a shaded 1 in here, we need a 2 to go alongside it, but the 2 in the column is already up there. So it would have to be part of the 6 if this is shaded. So it could be it would have to therefore be a 1, 5 doing that. But there isn't enough room. 1, 5, unshaded, 3 here, 2 here. Well, no, the problem is the question mark can't fit in. There's nowhere for it. So that, I think, is also unshaded. So we've got a 2 up here. Then we might have, well, I think we have got a question mark here. Then we've got a 3 on its own, which has to be there, doesn't it? And that has to be a 6. I think we've sort of forced this column now as a result of this digit. That has to be the 3. There must be a gap, so that's the 6. Those 2 squares become shaded. Okay. We now know what, though? Have we actually... Oh, no, I know what we can do here. Sorry. Right, what about this clue? I didn't see these 15s. This row is forced because it's similar actually to the 5 clue row, but in the each of these 15 clues is definitely going to absorb 2 digits. So how can we fill in this row? We could put a 5 here, then a gap, then a 2 cell 15, then a gap, then a 2 cell 15, then a gap, and then a 2, and that's the only way it can possibly work. So these 15s have to be 2 cells each. We can put that one in, 2 shaded, 1 unshaded, 2 shaded, 1 unshaded, shaded. And we can write the 2 in here, we can write the 5 in here. Oh, and now this Rembrandt line's getting interesting. It's got to have a 3. It's got to have a 3 on it. Where's the 3? Because between 2 and 5 there are the digits 3 and 4. So there must be a 3 and a 4 on the Rembrandt. Well, the 3 can't be there, so that's got to be a 3. One of these 2 squares is a 4, and we're actually away here, I think. This is a 50. Oh, that's a 15 on a Rembrandt. Ah, that's gorgeous. Right. So let's think about the 2 ways of making a domino add up to 15. 6 and 9, or 7 and 8. Now, if we put 6, 9 on here, what cell are we going to put there that's consecutive with both 6 and 9? We cannot put 7.5 in. It won't work. So that must be the 7 and the 8. That must be a 6 or a 9. And this must... Ah, this is a 6-9 pair. And there's a 6 here, look. So that's 6. That's 9. We don't know what's going on in column 4 yet. 13 at the bottom of column 3. That's very tempting to think this has to be a 4. Oh, and if that was a 4, it would also complete the 10. So that looks quite likely. So what are the other digits then? We've got 2. Oh, we can't put 6. Yeah, if you look at this Rembrandt line, one of the options would have been that it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but you can't put a 6 on it because of this 6. So it must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is a 1, 4 pair. Now, oh no, that's really annoying. That could be a 1, join up with the 3, and make the 10 clue work still. Oh, although that would break the 13. That just doesn't work, does it? I think if this is a 1, you can't make the 13 vertically, because these would be a... Oh, and this... No, you couldn't, because this can't be a 4. It's all getting quite cluttered. I don't think this can be a 1. Let me just see if there's a slightly simpler way of proving this, though, because this is so cluttered down here. Can we see a quick way of doing this? We've got to put cells summing to 8 into these two cells without using 1s, 6s, or 3 5s. So there's got to be an 8 in one of those two squares. That's probably going to do it, isn't it? Looks like it's got to be here. Yeah, if this is a shaded 8, the 10 clue is broken. So that's a shaded 8, which makes this an unshaded cell. These two squares are now 2 and 7 by Sudoku. This 10 clue is forcing this now to be shaded. And this 11 is forcing this to be unshaded. And that gets us the conclusion that we were heading towards anyway, in a slightly different way. That's given me a 1 here. These two squares are now a 3 and a 4. Oh, and we know the order. The 3 has to go there by Sudoku. The 4 goes here. The 4 comes out of here. Hang on. We've got a 5-cell Renban in column 5, and we can't put a 4 on it. Well, that's forced then. That has got to be the digits 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, because that's the only way of selecting 5 consecutive digits if the 4 is not available. And that square there looks like it's got to be the 5. So this is a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple there, quintuple if I include the 5. Now, does that mean this is entirely shaded? That's obviously unshaded now. I think it must do, mustn't it? Yeah, okay. Let's imagine that this wasn't entirely shaded. Well, that would imply this digit was green. But the moment this digit is green, the column total has become impossible because of the secret. The secret is, of course, and I only tell this to my very favourite people, any correct complete column, complete row, or complete box of a Sudoku will contain all of the digits 1 to 9. If you add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. So this column adds to 45. So imagine this square was green for a moment. Then we would know that somewhere else in the column, let's say these 6 cells, they must add to 35 because we know that there is a shaded sequence that adds to 35. And these 3 cells would therefore, by arithmetic, need to add up to 10. But this can only be a minimum of 6. 6 plus 4 is already 10. I can't put 0 in there. So this is entirely shaded. That deals with everything in that column. Those become unshaded. These are a 1, 2, 3 triple to complete the column. That's not a 3. And so far, so good. So far, this is just beautiful without being in any way barbaric. I'm not quite sure what the picture is at this point. No, don't think about the picture, Simon. That's so silly. Right, that's got to be green because we've done our 10 here. This vertical clue we don't have a Scooby-Doo about, so we can't do that. 16 at the bottom there, don't see how to do that. 3's come out of that cell. Yeah, okay. So this is part of the 3 clue, isn't it? We worked out before there's a 9 domino or 9 single up here, and then there must be the 3 clue. Now that 3 clue now includes a 1 or a 2, so it must have a second 1 or 2 in it, followed by a green. Then this square must be purple, and the bottom cell must be purple. This corresponds to a 6, 9 up there. Which is on a Renban. Again, if that's a 9, that would force the Renban to be 8, 7, 6, and 5. There's probably a reason that that's impossible. That feels, I mean, it's incredibly constraining. Can't quite see how to prove that though. I think there's a lot going on. Oh, I've got a 4 clue here that looks difficult now. Yeah, okay, this can't be a 2. Because if that's a 2, how do I make the 4 clue work? I'd have to accompany it with another 2 to add up to 4. So that's got to be a 1 surrounded by a 3. That becomes a 2. We don't know where the 3 goes, I don't think. Do we know about the 6 now at the bottom of this column? We know there's a 2 in it, so it's either, well, it's not. No, it's not. Actually, it's not a 3-cell clue anymore because 213 is ruled out. I can't put a 3 in any of those cells. So it's a 2-cell clue, and there must be a 4 in one of those positions. And that, well, we know which one it is. That's gorgeous, right? So this is a 4. That gets shaded. Those get greened in. Oh, I see. And now look at row 6. This is really nice without being too hard. I love this. So how are we going to do this? We've only got 5 cells left to fill in. So it must have an alternating pattern like this. And we can just draw the 4 in there. We can write the 6 in because 7, 8 and 9 are too high. And that squares a 1. And there's now a 1 in one of these 2 squares. There's a 4 in one of those 3 cells. Oh, and if there was a 4 up here, it would force the nature of this because of the Renban clue. Because if that's a 9, you can't put a 4 on the 5-cell Renban. I'm sure there's a way of doing that. Or do we know about this now? Ah, the 27 clue is at least 4 cells, so that's become purple. Yeah, and the 3 clue here can't be a 2-cell 3 clue, because this square would have to be a 1 or a 2, which it can't be. So that must be green. This must be a 3. That means that square's a 3 by Sudoku. And that's part of the 4, so that gets shaded in. These 2 squares become green. We don't know about that one yet, but we do know that this 27 needs 4 cells. And in fact, now look, we've got a 3 in this string. So that's got to be 7, 8 and 9 to make the 27 clue work. Now that clue is the equivalent of this clue, and that's on another funny Renban coming sort of into the grid from outside it. That's not a 3. So I've got a 1, 2 pair in that column. That's become a 3. That's no longer a 3. That corresponds to that one. This is a 5, so that corresponds to this one. So we can remove 5 from the other Renban positions. So this one's just become 2 or 4 now, and we seize 4. So that's a 2, which means that's a 2. These lose their ability to be 2s, and this is a 3, 4 pair. So this is a 3 or a 4 seize 4. This is so clever. So that becomes a 3. That must be a 4 clue, which can't be a 2-digit clue because the 3 in the row has gone. So there is a 4. Yeah, this clue must occupy this space. Then there's an 8 clue, which could be an 8 on its own or a 2-cell 8 clue. And then there is a 4 in one of those 2 cells for certain. But somewhat surprisingly, we don't seem to know which one it's in. That's probably me just having a ricket there. That feels like I must know the answer to that. 4. If the 4 was here, it would force an 8 there. Okay, don't know. The 18 clue must be, in fact 18, I was about to say must be 2 cells, but it must be 3 cells because you can't put double 9 in a single Sudoku row. So those squares all become purple. And, oh, I see. And because this has become unshaded, that cell there is a 9. That's huge, because that's on the Renban, but it's not the cell I thought was going to be 9, which now must be 6. And this Renban is now a 5, 6, 7, 8 Renban. So this square is no longer can be a 4. We can get rid of that one. That must be the 4 in box 3. This square is 5, 7 or 8. This square is 5, 7 or 8. And that one is corresponding to this square. In fact, we now know this one is a 6. We can write that in. This is a 5, 7 or an 8. Bizarrely, all of those look like they're options. Ah, there's a 17 clue, so that picks up another cell. And a 6. Yes, here we go. You can make 16 in 5 cells, but not if one of the cells is a 7 or an 8. The only way of doing it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So this must put a gap in there, and that tells us the 16 clue must be a 7, 9 pair, and we know the order. 7, 8, 9. That's no longer 7 anymore. 1s, 5s and 8s by Sudoku into the rest of this box. Yeah, we don't know about this cell, do we? At least I don't think we do. That one is also 5, 7 or 8. Again, I've got this horrible feeling like that I'm missing all sorts of things. Oh, 9 now by Sudoku has to go there, it seems. Which means that's not a 9. That's not an 8 by Sudoku. That's not an 8 by Sudoku. Oh, and this 11 clue seems to have been completed. Obviously I wasn't looking at that, but it's been done, so that gets a greening here. Oh, I thought I'd messed up the puzzle, but I haven't. Look at this, there are 3 clues in this column. That one has become a 7. And that's important because that's actually on a Renban up here. So that gets 7'd. These 3 squares therefore have to be part of a single clue, so that gets purpled. And that... Oh, I see, but we can put 1 in here. So the minimum value of this is a 1, 5... No, it can't be a 1, 5 pair. So the minimum value of this is a 1, 6 pair, adding to 9. So this square must be a 9, because I've got to keep these 3 consecutive. So the highest I can make this is 9, and it can't be 8, because I can't make these add up to small enough, because if I put a 1, 5 pair in, this cell has no value. So I think this has to be a 1, 6 pair. Oh. Which I've done in the most silly way as ever, because this is a 5, 7, 8 triple, so I could have just written a 1, 6 pair in there, but anyway, you know me. So that's now become an 8. Oh, and that is helpful, look, because that corresponds exactly to that digit. So those become shaded, or these become green. We've got to put a 1 in this column, which is going to be a solitary 1. Looks like it wants to go here, doesn't it? But I don't think that's forced necessarily. Okay, so let's carry on. What more can we do? Have we done this 18 clue? If that's a 6, it's broken. You can't get to 18, so that's a 1. This is a 6. These are 10. Yeah, okay, and this is now forced, because we can't extend this without this being a 1 as another 1. So that must be an 8. This must be green. Still, I don't think we know about what's going on with 1s. This 1 is fixing that 5 though, which might help. That's forcing an 8 and a 1 into those squares, a 2 and a 1 into these squares. That's now become a 2 and a 7. This square is forced to be a 5. And these are a 1, 7, 9 triple at the bottom of, or along row 7 to finish that off. 8 can come out of both of these squares, And, oh, see, this is 8, so this is 7, this is 5, this is 7. We need 5, we need an 8 here by Sudoku and a 5-6 pair which we can fill in. Wow, okay, now we're starting to go again, aren't we? What about the gaps in row 3? They must be 6, 8 and 9. Yeah, so where does the 6 go in row 3? It must go here. These have become an 8-9 pair. One of them is on a renban, so this renban is quite a high renban. I guess one thing I've got to be careful about though is it could go upwards. It could go like 8, 9, 10. No, it can't be 10. It could be, but it could be that 10, 11 outside the grid here. That would be possible. I wouldn't be able to write it into the software, but it would be possible in theory at least. Now, okay, so what do we do next? Have we worked? Yes, we've worked out where the 1 goes in this column because this can't be a 1. So that must be green, this must be a 1, that gets purpled. This is part of a 13 clue, so that gets purpled. At least. Could be this one in as well, although I think this is going to push it too high. Yes, I mean it is. If you think about this, if we were to extend to this cell, this square's got a minimum value of 5. 5 plus 6 plus 7 is already... 5 plus 6 plus 7, what am I talking about? 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 7 is 13. We can't put 0 in there, so that must be green. This now is part of a 16 clue. You can't get to 16 with just one more number, so both of those turn into clues, or shaded cells. Oh, and does that... Yeah, this can't be part of the 4, because there wouldn't be room to put the 8 in. So this is part of the 8, which locks the 4 into this cell. Nice. So that becomes a shaded 4. Now this is either... Oh, this is a solitary 8, isn't it? Because if this is a 2-cell 8, it's got to be 1, 7, 2, 6 or 3, 5, and it can't be any of those things. So this square is solitary. That becomes an 8. Now the 2 in column 2 can't be in that square, so it must be a shaded 2 here. 13 isn't possible in a 2-cell clue if one of them is a 2, so there must be another shaded cell either here or here. Oh! I could do this by picture. I've just spotted what the picture's making. That's clever. It's not a king or a queen, which is what I was expecting after all. I think it's going to be a butterfly. Right, hang on. Let me think about this. This 7 is giving me a 7 on that renban. This 8 is fixing the 9 and the 8 here. What other digits do we need in there then? We need 5s. That's a naked single 7. This is a 5, this is a 6, so all of this gets finished, but now we've got to figure out... those 3 squares, this is cool. These 3 squares add up to 13, which would seem to be perfect. What if we try and include this cell? Well, how could we ever do that? Either those 3 cells together to make 13 would require this to be a 6, or these 4 cells together would require this to be a 0. Neither of those is possible. So that is real. It's purpled. I've now only got 11 down here. I need 14, so we need another digit, and only one digit, because 2 more digits would require another 1. So this square here is a 3. That... Oh, goodness, I read the 13 clue. I was thinking, how can I make it work? But actually, look, it's this clue. Oh, and this renban has got a 3 and a 7 on it, and only 3 more digits. And there are exactly 3 digits between 3 and 7, so that's 4, 5, and 6. Oh, this is a 6, I see. So this is a 6. So those are not 6s. This is a 4, 5 pair, which is probably done somehow that I can't see. Oh, bobbins. Sorry, I can't see how to do it. I'm feeling very inept. Yeah, okay, I can do things though with this 12, because this 12 needs to fit into this gap, look. because this clue must correspond to that cell. So this can't be a 2-cell clue, or you can't, because you can't make this square add to 12. So those must go into the grid. Now we know this isn't a 4, because this would require this to be an 8. So that's 5, that's 7, this is green. That's therefore not 7. I still haven't managed to figure that out. This is now a 4. Now, is that shaded or... Hang on, what's going on here? How do I work out whether this is shaded or unshaded? If it's shaded, that's a 9 clue. And that's a 7. Oh, I see. It's going to be this Renban, is it? Oh, wow. I think that this Renban is going to tell us the nature of this clue, which is very... I mean, it's incredibly clever, but very surprising. That's an 8 by Sudoku. That's on another Renban, so there now must be a 7 on this Renban, and it can't be here. 3-cell Renban with an 8 on it. Needs a 7 to say consecutive. The 7 must hide outside the grid. And I've broken the puzzle. How have I managed to do that? 11 something. They should add up to 7. Oh! No! I'm so... Oh, goodness me. That got me. Well done, Grockles. You got me. You gave me a heart attack. Oh, right. Of course, what I wasn't catering for was that this goes upwards to 10. That's really clever. Yeah, so the way to get this, or the way to have realised this, is to actually add those up. If you add these up, you get a 10 here. And that being a 10, I can't put it in. I'll put a 0 in. But 10 obviously therefore forces this to be a 9. So I forgot that because this goes outside the grid, it could go upwards 8, 9, 10. And I was trying to put a 7 in, which wouldn't have worked. And more fool me. Anyway, that's I'm very, very relieved about that. 2 and 6, therefore, go into those squares. This 8 is giving me a 7 here. That's a 9. That's an 8. These two squares have got to be 9 and something. What is it? 9 and 4. Not done yet. Okay. And those two... Oh, we must know that digit. That's a 5. We must know these two digits. They are a 2-3 pair, and there's a 3 down here. So 3 and 2 go into the grid. 9 comes out of those squares. I mean, it feels like we're basically done, doesn't it? What about this digit? Oh, we don't know. It's on a Renban. Ah, yeah, okay, we do know, actually, because if this is shaded, it's adding up to 10 or 16, but a 10 here would require these two cells to be the digits 7, 8, and 9. That's sort of mad Schrödingerness to require these two cells to be those 3 things at once. So this must be green. This must be a 9. 6, 9 requires 7 and 8 into these squares. Now let's check this. Yeah, okay, that was already done as an 8, so we could have got that. This one, and this one therefore is 7, which tells us the nature of this. That is so clever. So this has become shaded as a result. That square has become a 9 as a result of that. And okay, and I think all we've got to do now is we've built our butterfly, and we've just got Sudoku to finish this off. 2 and 9 there. This 2 helps with that. So that's 2, that's 9, that's 9, that's 4. Don't really want to end up with a deadly pattern, and I'm not going to. 4, 7, 7, 1. I've got to fill these in, so that should be a 6. And oh, this is a good check actually, because this is on a Renban as well. So could this be 10? No, because that's a 5. Okay, and this square it sees on its Renban 7 and 5, so that should be an 8, and is. Wow, isn't that clever? It's just, I mean, it's amazing, actually. It's amazing that you can just sort of fill that in. And, yeah, and I really liked actually getting caught out with this. That was probably my favourite moment, because it was heart-stopping, but then when you realise that you've just been outfoxed, it's fair enough. And it was very fair to start with as well. You know, five different clues in a row is very forced, as actually was this clue, which I should have spotted earlier. I'm sure there was more I could have done early with this. But Yeah, beautiful. And in fact, let's just let's see if we can make our butterfly even cleaner to look at. Can you see the purple now? Beautiful. Beautiful. It would make a good thumbnail, wouldn't it? But I suppose I shouldn't put a butterfly in the thumbnail because it would rather be a spoiler. Anyway, loved it, Grockles, as always. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And I say there's a lot more of these on Patreon, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.